In today's episode, we're gonna be finishing up the underground laboratory. It's gonna be a bunch of farms again, but some of them will be different than usual. And with all of the farms set up, we can also now finish the storage room of the laboratory. Keep watching for more. Hello everyone, my name is Shira and welcome back to another adventure in Minecraft. Last episode, we visited the Woodland Mansion and the Trial Chambers, which resulted getting me some of these totems of undying, and of course, the maze. This maze doesn't have any enchantment yet, so there won't be any use for it for now. So I'm just gonna be putting this on my ender chest for now. So now I'm going to discuss what I'm going to do this episode. And what I'm going to be doing today is to work on the underground laboratory. Yep, it's finally time to do the final floor of the underground laboratory and finish the project for good. So now let's look at our tasks for today. So the last time we worked on the underground laboratory, we finished up the second floor. So now we will be moving on to the next one. And here are the farms that I'm going to be working on that floor. So a wool farm, a kelp farm, a glowberry farm, and a cocoa bean farm. So let's head over there right now. The first farm I'm gonna be working on is the wool farm. I've already shown this before. This is where I keep all of my sheep and use them if I needed some wool. So now, these guys over here will finally have a permanent place once I finish making my automatic wool farm. But first, I'm just gonna be moving them out of this place as I need to dig up the area to build the farm. And there, the area is now ready. I can now start building the farm. So the farm I'm gonna be making is the wool farm, which will need this sheep over here. If you use a shear on these guys, you can harvest their wool. There are a total of 16 colors possible for wool, and we can change all of our sheep here to all of those different colors. So let's go and do that first. So first is white, light gray, gray, and this is black, brown, red, orange, yellow, lime, green, cyan, light blue, blue, purple, magenta, and finally pink. And that's all the sheep with all the colors possible. So now if we shear them, the color of their wool will still be the same as their current color. And if their wool grows back, it will still be the same color as the current one. Dyeing a sheep changes their natural wool color. If only that's how it works in real life. Anyway, now that that's done, let's move on to the farm. Making a wool farm is pretty simple. The most important things you'll need is a dispenser and some shears. As I said before, if you shear a sheep, you can get the wool. Then it will leave them naked for a bit. After a bit of time, the sheep will eventually eat some grass if they're on a grass block, and that will regrow their wool. And there, their wool has grown back. So now we can shear them again. And with that being said, we can actually automate that process. So now I'm just going to build something here so that I can show you how the farm will work. So first I'm going to place a grass platform. Then I'm going to remove this one and replace it with an observer. Then on top of the observer, I will put the dispenser. Behind the observer, there's a block with the redstone dust on top. Then I'll put the shears inside the dispenser. Then I'm going to enclose this with glass. And there. The only thing left is to put the sheep inside here. Come on, go here. There. So now that the sheep is inside, we'll only need to wait until it hits the grass block again. And there, as you can see, the dispenser sheared the sheep automatically. So how that works is this observer is currently looking at this block over here, which was a grass block earlier, and when the sheep ate the grass, it turned into dirt. So the observer observed a block update that powered up this redstone and activated the dispenser with the shear. But as you can see, the wool is still inside with the sheep, so we need a way to collect them as well. And I'm going to make use of some hopper minecarts. So just to show you how it works, first I'm just going to put a hopper here, then I'm going to put some grass blocks on top of it, just like that one. Then remove these two here just for a bit, put a rail, then the hopper minecart, then remove the rail. Then I need to put a grass block in this spot here, but I currently can't do that since the hopper minecart is in the way. So the way I'm going to do that is to put the grass block on top of it, then I'm going to use a piston. Then if I power up this piston, it will push the grass block on that spot. So now, the hopper minecart and the grass block is on the exact same place. Then any item that is thrown above here will be collected by the hopper minecart and will be transferred into the hopper below. So that is how the item collection will work. So now I'm going to make this kind of module to the actual farm. So I'm gonna be putting them here and over here. Each side will have 8 modules, and all of them will have a different color of sheep. So let's start building up the wool farm. The wool farm is now done, and I also did all of the decorations. And now we can see all of the sheeps are in their proper places, and all the wool are now being harvested and collected and stored in the storage room above. So on this side, we have the white, light gray, gray, black, brown, red, orange, and yellow. Then over here is the lime, green, cyan, light blue, blue, purple, magenta, and pink. Then as for the decorations, the floor is the same with the other farms, same with the ceiling. But over on both sides here, on the lower section, I made a checkered pattern for the floor, made out of polished diorite and black stone. Then I have these black stained paints as railings placed on top of these smooth quartz stairs. Then below here, we have the quartz pillars and some end rods as lighting. And I also made use of the new pale wood over here. This is the first time I'm using one of this, and I think they look okay. Then over here are the modules for the actual farm. I made use of the color of whatever the ship's color is inside, so I can identify where each of them are. And this is also a bit different from the one I showed earlier. As you can see, the dispenser is actually above the ship instead of behind it. And if we go through here, the redstone had to make their way above to reach the dispenser now. I made it like this so that I can put a hopper line, which is this one over here, to put the shears in the dispensers from one location, which I'll show later. And now here is the control panel for the farm. This is quite big compared to the others. You can see that there's a switch for every color that is here. And if I turn off a switch, it will just stop the dispenser from dispensing the shears. I can actually show the redstone behind there, but it's a bit messy. And this looks a bit complicated to look at, but it's just a bunch of regular redstone lines so close together. And doing this actually took a lot of time, which I didn't really expect. I haven't even done the controls on the other side here, but I'll do that a little bit later. Then lastly, in the middle here is where I put the shears for the dispensers. The lamp here indicates if there's a backup of shears in the system. It's currently on, so I have some shears left. And if I need to add some, I just need to place the shears inside this barrel over here. And it will travel to this dropper elevator into the chest over there. And that is my wool farm. I'm pretty happy how this turned out. And so, let's move on to our next farm, which will be a kelp farm. So time for more digging. Alright, time to move on to the kelp farm. These are the kelp. They're all around the ocean and are pretty easy to harvest. And the main use of these things is that I can turn it into dried kelp. And you can get some dried kelp by smelting the kelp in the furnaces. The dried kelp is also another food source, but it is not a really good one. What's good about this dried kelp is that you can turn this into a dried kelp block, and these kelp blocks can be used for building, which looks like this, but it can also be used as a fuel source for a furnace. These are one of the best fuels you can use in the game, and they're pretty easy to farm. To make a kelp farm, I just need to make use of a piston and an observer, just like how I used it in the sugarcane farm. Then I can have the kelp go into an auto smelter to turn them into dried kelp, which I can then turn into dried kelp blocks using the auto crafters. And because of those auto crafters, I can even make it self-sustaining by making use of the blocks as the fuel source for the auto smelter. Then any extra kelp blocks will be put in the storage room. So now let's start making the farm. There will be two sections for the kelp farm itself, which will be these two areas over here. Then over this way, there's a stairway going down. Then over on this section will be where I'll be putting the auto smelter. The design of the farm I'm gonna be making is by Cubfan135. It won't be the exact same thing as what he built, but it will mostly be from his design, especially the one for the smelter. The link of his video is in the description. So with that out of the way, here is another time lapse for you. The kelp farm is now fully functional, and I also finished decorating it as well. Here is the control panel, and we'll get back to this later. The decorations are still the same with the others, but this one has a stairway going down to the smelter. I also added this blue terracotta pattern over here. I don't really know what this is, to be honest. I just randomly placed some blocks until it looked good in my eyes. Then here is the kelp farm itself. As you can see here, it is designed like a staircase just for full efficiency. Because after the kelp is harvested by the piston, it will slowly float up to the top, and there's a water flow over there that directs all the kelp towards the back. Let me just get inside here real quick. So here I am at the top. So the kelp flows towards the end over here, and then they go through this water stream and they go all the way over here, which goes through either the smelter or to the storage room. And by that I mean, I can change where they go in this control panel. So first, here's the power switch. It is currently on, and if I turn it off, the pistons will just block the kelp from growing until I turn it on again. Then above here is the switch where I choose if I want dried kelp blocks or just regular kelp. this works the same as the one in the bamboo farm. So whatever light is switched on indicates the current mode. So currently it is in the dried block mode, so the kelp goes directly to the smelter. But if I put it on the regular kelp, like this, it will go directly to the storage room above. Then let's go below the smelter. The smelter has been working great, and I've gotten a lot of dried kelp already. They're currently being stored in this chest over here. And when you look at this, it doesn't seem like there's a lot just yet. But that's because I've been manually placing them in the smokers over here as their fuel, as well as the hoppers behind them. So currently I'm placing all of the dried kelps behind these hoppers here until all of them are full. But eventually, the dried kelp will just automatically go through the hoppers here in this water stream. And any excess will just shoot through here and go directly to the storage room above. And that's everything on the kelp farm. We can now automatically collect one of the best sources of fuel in the game. If you're still watching, please click the like and subscribe button. I will definitely appreciate the support. But now that this is done, I've actually built all of the farms I wanted to build in my base. But saying that, I still have 2 more spaces here that I can build a farm in. But I'm gonna be honest with you. These last 2 farms are just some randomly picked farms that will just fill up the rest of the spaces over here. I've actually been trying to think of what kind of farms I want to put in here for the longest time, and I still can't think of any that I really need. There are actually a bunch more farms that I want to build, but I decided to build that elsewhere and not build it in my laboratory. So, I'm gonna go with these last 2 farms here, which is a glowberry farm and a cocoa bean farm. And let's start with the glowberry. And here's the glowberry farm. And I've actually finished the entire thing. So here's one of the modules of the farm. I just have the glowberry placed on top of there, and they will slowly grow downwards over time until one of them reach the observers below. And when it does, the piston does its thing, and it will harvest the glowberries. The glowberries I am referring to is the orange colored berries that's on the thing over there. The glowberries only sometimes grow from the vines randomly, and it seems there's a thunderstorm outside. And because of that, it doesn't really produce a whole lot of it when it naturally grows. But from what I've seen here, and when I check from the storage above, it still produces a decent amount. This is actually the first time I've ever built a glowberry farm like this. Normally I just use a bone meal then manually do it since it's faster that way. I wasn't really sure of building this farm here at first, but after building it, it really fits in well with the other farms here. So, I'm glad I did it. And here's the control panel. Same as always, if I turn this off, the pistons will just stay like that to prevent the vines from growing. Let me just add a few more decorations here. And there we go. So that is the glowberry farm. Oh, and by the way, you can see that my level is down to level 8. And that's because I actually died while I was building the glowberry farm. I went AFK for a bit to do something, and the slime sneaked up on me and killed me where I stood. A totem was even wasted because of that. See? I told you having a totem can still kill you if you're stupid. But luckily, I didn't lose any of my gear, so it wasn't really a loss. Anyway, with now that all done, it's now time to start making our last farm in the underground laboratory. And here's the cocoa bean farm. Now, this one is a bit different from all of the other farms that I've built here. And that is because this one isn't a fully automatic farm. Unfortunately, cocoa bean farms can't be fully automated because it will need a player input to farm it. There's still some redstone involved here. So how this works is, you can plant the cocoa bean, which is this one, to a jungle log. This is the only block that you can place them in. Then they will grow over time, and this will be the final stage of their growth. Then I can harvest this using my hand, or use an axe to instantly harvest it. You can get 3 cocoa beans if it is fully grown. Now to harvest this using the redstone I set up. So there's a piston below every jungle log over here, and also above them. And if I press this note block here, what's gonna happen is that the piston from below will push the logs upwards, removing all the beans. Then the piston above will also push the logs back to their original position after a small delay from the pistons below. And so let's try doing that now. And there, all the cocoa beans are now in the ground. Now I just need to harvest them and replant them back to the logs. Then wait for them to grow for the next harvest. I also have this barrel over here where I can dump all of the cocoa beans, and if I place them here, they will slowly be put in the water stream below, which goes all the way to the storage room above. And so, that is my cocoa bean farm. And with the farm done, we are now finished with the 3rd floor of our laboratory. And also, after I built that farm, I also did something above us. And here it is, the storage room. And as you can see, I've also finished decorating the entire place. Each of the chest sections here are surrounded by polished stuff, and above them, there's a redstone lamp. If the light is on, it means that the column here is already full of items. Sometimes the light is just blinking if there are items being stored in that column there. Then here's the floor I made out of polished basalt with somewhat of a checkered pattern. Then over here in the center, which is very hard to miss with all the colors, is the storage for all of the wool. And you can see each color represents where they are stored in here. And since I built the wool farm, I've already gathered a decent amount of all of the types already. And finally, the ceiling. I really like the ceiling in this area. The block I used for this is, let me just get one real quick, is a cauldron. I like using this as a ceiling because of its depth from the underside and it doesn't feel flat. And this also fits in what I want in this area. So there you have it. With the storage room also finally done, I can finally say that the underground laboratory is complete. So let's go back to our book here and take it. Cross out all of the tasks. And now I can finally sign it. And store it in my study room. So with this project done, whenever I am in my base, all of the farms will just continually gather materials for me. And I am pretty happy with how everything has turned out. This project took a while to finish, but finally, well, it is finished. Even with the laboratory finished, there's still a couple of things left to do in my base. Like making a super smelter, and that area over there, and of course this area over here. But we'll get to that very soon. So, that is it for me today. The things I do in this world are taking a lot longer to finish than I anticipated, so this episode will be released a lot later than it should. And for my future projects, it will probably be the same case. So I decided that I won't have any definite schedule for my episodes now, and just release them whenever I'm finished making them. So anyway, if you enjoyed the episode and want to see more, click the like and subscribe button. I appreciate the support. And we'll continue on our next adventure next time. I'll see you when I see you.